Awesome. All right. Well, welcome to our IU We Build California. The topic of our discussion for today is around Pride Month. So we called it IU We Build California, Out Proud and Building California. Super proud of that title. But thank you so much for being here with us. And I don't want to say your name because my first question is I'd like you to introduce you, who you are, your name, your title, your trade, your pronouns. Are you married? How long? Everything we should know about what makes you you.
All right. Thank you, Abby. My name is Thereza Peña. I am a proud lesbian carpenter with the Southwest Mountain State Carpenters. I'm a 6th stage apprentice. My main craft is finish carpentry. And because of Pride Month, happy Pride, but I've been married for 4.5 years now and together with my wife for 7 years.
That's so cute. Thank you so much, Teresa, for being here with us and introducing yourself. And I just remembered I forgot to introduce myself. But hello, everyone, whoever watches this. My name is Abby Palomares. I'm the Senior Build California Program Manager here at AGC of California. All right. Well, my next question is how did you get into the industry or what drew you to construction?
I did video production for over 10 years. And with video production, I mean filming, editing, directing. I kind of learned it all. And then I started producing concerts, so backstage content. And I did that for about 10 years, a little over 10 years. And when I turned 31, 32, I decided I wanted to pursue a second career before it was too late, before I'm too old. And construction was always something I was interested in. And then I just came across carpentry, and then the Southwest Mountain State Carpenters offered an apprenticeship program, and they were going to pay me as I was learning, and it just sounded perfect for what I was looking for.
Nice. That's so awesome. Well, sounds like your job before being a carpenter was sounds pretty fun. Pretty
it
fun.
Was fun
doing concerts and stuff. Did you have any other than Southwest Carpenters, did you have any mentors who influenced you in making your decision? Were any of those, if you did have any mentors or people you looked up to, were they also part of the LGBTQ plus community?
Surprisingly, I had no mentors. There's nobody in my family that's a carpenter. There's no friends. It was literally just researching, like, and finding out first what's construction, then what's carpentry, and it just started leading to different like paths of my research journey of the second career. But yeah, no mentors, nobody that I knew, so it was just me.
That's super cool. Well, not super cool because it sucks that you didn't have a mentor, but I love that you're still in the industry and you were persistent. Yeah. But both of those worlds, like video production and concerts, and that world is quite different from construction. Like, what was it from the industry that that drew you to even have a small interest? Like, what was it that you that made you decide, like, oh, I might not want to do this anymore. I want to try carpentry even.
I actually still do video production. It's something I do on the side. It's still a hobby. I still coordinate and produce concerts whenever I can. But yeah, the main thing I'm focused on now is definitely carpentry. And I think just like I've always been such a masculine person, not just because I'm a gay woman, but it's just me, my personality. And construction, like the videos I saw and how loud and dirty the industry is just it's something that I thought, okay, I don't want an office job. What can I do to keep busy and let time fly and use my hands? And and it was definitely carpentry. It was either that, I don't think I've told anybody this, but it was either that or being a mechanic. And
what? Okay, yeah. I know you've shared a lot with me in the past, but I didn't know that part. Like a car mechanic?
Yeah, car mechanic. So I did research on that too. And it just, I don't know, I kind of just talked to my wife about it one night, and she thought I was crazy, but she's always known me like that. She supports my crazy.
She's like,
So I told her, maybe
she's like, I think you're crazy, but that's probably the reason I also fell in love with you, right? Like, go after what you love. I love that.
Yeah. And and on a personal note, she supported it, even like the financial aspect of it, like us living together. She said, hey, if you want to stop doing video production full time, I can get a third job while I support us, and you can like try to pursue until you get on your feet. So when it's not just like commercializing or marketing the Southwest Mountain State Carpenters, but when they did offer like for the apprenticeship program to be paid, I thought like it was perfect, because that way she didn't have to like overwork herself for us. And it helped me, but just the emotional support just helped so much. And that's why I chose carpentry over being a mechanic. But I mean, maybe my third career would be a mechanic in the future.
Nice.
Maybe.
That's cool. I think that you're absolutely right. Like a lot of people that are like don't come from the industry, like at that point in your life, you didn't know that you were gonna learn while you were getting paid, right? You're like, oh my God, am I gonna have to get out a loan, or am I gonna have to take a pay cut or not get paid at all, right? So that's super cool that your wife was one willing to do that. And then I did want to ask you something. So I'm sure even though luckily your wife didn't have to take that third job, but I'm sure your life changed, and because you were not the carpenter you are today, right? Like you were starting off, you like, how has your life and even just like the quality of your life and marriage improved on that and even like just financially, maybe time-wise? Like I love that you also mentioned that you still do video production, like you still get to be that part of your soul. And I'm like, oh my God, that's super cool, that you get to live both worlds and both of those pieces. So how has construction changed that or improved that, if at all?
She actually did take that third job because I did take a pay cut because of you start with the first level, first stage and whatnot. But I guess like seeing her just like it impact, I think our marriage is what like inspired me, and it made me think, dude, your wife is there taking a third job. Even if the first couple months is hard, which it was, just keep going. It's going to be worth it. And it just kept me going, and it inspired me more to see her also putting in that work for both of us. And I guess eventually, like, I kid you not, Abby, like my personality changed so much. I wasn't on weekends. I was already awake at 6 a.m. Like it's just, it became a routine. Something was broken around the house or the apartment. I love to like know what I was doing, not just some Mickey Mouse work. And just hearing her compliment me, hearing my family compliment me of like fixing things that were like back in the day almost impossible to do, and that
you had to pay someone.
So so it just helped me, like it just like getting compliments by them and being admired just really helped, and it helped my self-esteem a lot. And just I'm more of a structured person, and like I said, even waking up early, like back then,
no pun intended, right? No pun intended on you're more of a structured person.
Oh, literally.
That's hella funny. I love that. A lot of people do say that that from all like the benefits that the industry offers and stuff, like it's that like feeling you get of, hey, I can actually fix that, like not just on the job side because it's your job, but when I'm home or when I can fix something for my parents, my wife, my husband, my friend, like anybody, right? Like people can actually use their skills in and outside of the industry, right? So I really love that. With that, I have this question. So what are some accomplishments you are proud of, both in construction and also in your personal life?
Okay, construction. I think it probably was when work slowed down, and it does with union construction. It slowed down, and I was able to jump to a different trade. So I did finish carpentry for like 2.5 years, and that's all I knew. panels, cabinets, the finished part of carpentry.
Yeah.
And then when it slowed down, I got a call for a job opportunity as a millwright, which was something I never had done. But like I told you, my first interest was either carpenter or mechanic. And a millwright.
So you're living your dream.
Yeah, and it was a little taste of it. And I thought like I was at Desert Center, California. I was actually, for 1 week, I camped out with a friend that I met there. She's also LGBTQ plus.
Nice.
And yeah, we saved our per diem and we're like, let's just camp. We're at a desert. Why not? We'll go to work the next morning. And it was cool. And yeah, I think that was the coolest project I did because it was something so different than what I was used to and what like my family and my wife had seen me do. So it was a challenge and it was cool. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
And then piggyback off family and friends that like support what I do. I guess like I started also doing a bunch of work for family, neighbors, and friends. And it was just me and another LGBTQ plus carpenter, and her and I, we built this deck. Like, so we have a neighbor who asked us to please build a deck for him. And I was like, dude, should we do it? We were so nervous, but we're like, dude, we took classes on this. Like we could research, we could do it. And of course we had a little help from the owner because he's also a carpenter, but he was so impressed with our work ethic and he gave us a little pointers. But once that deck was finished, and on top of that, I took a stair class and it was right on time when the stairs needed to be built in that deck. It came out so beautiful. Like I was so proud. I'm still so proud of ourselves. And that was like the most recent project we did. Yeah.
That is so cool. Go ahead.
And the last thing was that the owner's wife said, I know what we need on this deck. I want to get a plaque that says built by women. And I was like, wow, that like it touched me because I was like, that's your home, that's your property. And for them to say it, we want to get a plaque right on the bottom of the first step that says built by women. It's just not just as a woman, but I told her, how about built by lesbian women?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. So they're
I love that. Okay, you need to send me a picture of that. I want to see that.
Yeah, I'll definitely send you videos and pictures of before and after.
That's really cool. You said you took a stair class. You took the stair class at your union training center?
Yeah.
And do you have to pay for those classes?
No, that's part of the apprenticeship program that I'm with. It's you every 3 months you get assigned a class, and after 4 years or a certain amount of units, every 2 classes, if you have the right amount of work hours, you upgrade to the next stage. So every other 2 classes, the right amount of hours, you keep upgrading, and those classes are already by default. They'll send you which is your next class. But sometimes when also work is slow, if you don't have anything to do, you can also do walk-ins and get your units out the way. Yeah, so those classes are free. That's part of the apprenticeship program.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. That's awesome. From someone so I love the industry. I have fallen in love with the industry. I'm pretty new to construction, but for someone who really believes in construction, I don't take a lot of pride in not knowing how to build things, because now that I know about construction, I'm like, dang, like, why didn't anybody tell me this when I was in high school? Like my decisions would have been different, because girl, like I will buy everything used and build because I have a fear of building and messing up things. But you know what? I was so inspired. And I was say, now that I know like the industry, I'm like, I would want to be a carpenter because it's so, all trades are hands-on, but you're like building and you can do so much like in your home, right? And I love like changing my room every like 2-3 weeks. So I'm like, I would love to build things for myself. So during my holiday break, I decided to buy a new thing for my wardrobe, for my clothes. And I'm like, I'm not gonna buy a used, so it's not built already. I'm gonna buy it brand new. But I was like, I'm gonna buy a cheap one too in case I mess it up. And it took me 6 hours, but I did it. Okay. I did it. And I was like, I could not understand anything. And I was like, dang, like I was like, I mean, I already respect our tradespeople so much. My dad's an electrician and he tells me all about his job all the time. But I'm like, how the heck do y'all work so fast? And like your brain is like multitasking at like a times 1,000. I'm like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
you know how they say that people who as you get older, you need to do certain exercises that exercise your brain, so like your brain doesn't get older. Like I thought to myself in that moment, and I'm like, people in the trades, their brain will never age, because you guys use your brain, is like all the parts of your brain I didn't even know existed. I'm like, how am I doing this? So that's really cool. That's
But
awesome.
when you built that, even if it took hours, doesn't it feel so like it's a different feeling that you did it? Yeah.
So good. Like I was so proud of myself, and I was like, oh my God. And I have my TV on top of it. And every time I look at it, I'm like, hell yeah, like I did that. Like I could do other things. I'm like, maybe I should look into that. Like, and also like I suffer from anxiety a lot. So the calmness I felt, because I was so focused on like doing that and doing it so perfectly. I'm like, oh my God, no wonder. I've heard you say also that it's like art, like you're like in your zone. And I'm like, yeah, it really is. So yeah, I'm proud of that. But that's really cool. That's awesome that you get to do that. And that's really cool that your union, like you don't have to pay for those classes, and they come in handy. So that's cool.
Yeah, if you take full advantage of it, it's like it's so worth it. But I know a lot of like carpenters, they dread going to school because you know you don't get paid during that time that you're in school. It's only 4 days, Monday through Thursday, but you're learning something that you can apply to side work and just to make you an overall better and more well-rounded carpenter.
Yeah.
And when you say art, like it does feel like art, because I think with like I'm also a very creative person. Like being an editor, like it's an art, you know, like I'm filming things and I'm already having a vision of what I want it to look like.
Yeah.
And if I mess up the shot when I'm editing, I figure out how to piece it together. So doing that for so many years and coming into carpentry, it's like it's still art. Like you said, I can be hours, just 10 hours focused and just knowing what the next plan is, sketching out my ideas, like, and then just seeing it once it's done. It's like, okay, cool. That's what I thought it was gonna look like, and it looks good. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next project.
Built by me.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's so cool. All right, my next question is, how do you support or advocate for the LGBTQ plus community in your personal life or in the industry?
I think more like the personal life. It's a little harder to do because I am such a busy person, and you know, but
you're multi-passionate.
I'm multi-passionate.
Yeah, there you go.
But I figured out how to weave it into my schedule once I did join carpentry construction. And what I did was I created a group that supports LGBTQ plus members. And I was like, okay, like I can't really even volunteer too much with like union like meetings and volunteer work as much as I used to before. So I still think about it, like how can I give back, not just to my union, but also to my culture, my LGBTQ plus culture, and seeing so many LGBTQ plus members in construction as well. Some are out, some are not. I thought, you know what? Mix everything together, kill multiple birds with one stone. I do video that highlights LGBTQ plus carpenters, and it highlights our success, our stories, our upgrades, you know, and I think that's the best way that I can go about it.
Nice.
And currently I'm actually producing a couple interviews for Pride Month, which time is running out, but it's fine. It's Pride every single day of the year for me. And you know, it's very personable interviews with other members that are out, and you know, we're going to talk about our personal experience, what we feel, any discrimination, how we can, you know, help our members feel more comfortable. And it's from us to us, and it's really special. Like, so that's the best way I can advocate right now. Like the best way that I can is combining my careers and my platforms and like speaking out for us.
Yeah, and your talent of being able to produce these great videos. I
Yeah.
really love that. Because well, yeah, sometimes it might feel like, dang, like what can I do, right? But sometimes like we don't realize how storytelling is so powerful because you never know who's on the other side of that video, speaker, post, caption, whatever you're putting out, right? Like
Right.
you don't know who's listening. And even if I don't identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community, I know someone who does. I love someone who does, right? Like we all do most likely. So I love the ability to amplify these voices and give them that like platform, right, to tell their story. So where I want to plug you really quick, where can people find all of these great resources, videos, or yeah, where can they find them?
Right now it's going to be on Instagram, and it's the Instagram handle is siblings in carpentry.
Siblings in carpentry. Perfect.
Mhm.
Y'all heard it.
Super simple.
Go follow, like, comment, subscribe, everything. I love that.
Thank you.
All right. My next question. As an out person in the industry, do you think your experience has been different than your peers who may not be out, or might not even be a part of the LGBTQ plus community?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's actually something I talk about often. And it's a really sad topic because a lot of uh, gay carpenters that I know, men that I know, are not out. And they're not out because it's not just like, oh, it's a secret or I'm very like to myself conservative, but it's more like they fear being out. And that's when it gets a little bit dark. And and then I see other women or other LGBTQ plus members that are just not out because they're also embarrassed to be out, or they're scared that they're going to be a target, and their careers have been so good that they're scared that coming out would change anything in a negative way. And
Yeah.
and I just want to promote like being a little bit more brave, and helping them feel that it's safe. Like be proud, and our industry is not that bad. But yeah, because I haven't experienced it, I can honestly say that I'm blessed that I have never experienced discrimination for being a lesbian woman in the industry. I am have been nothing but supported by my brothers in the industry. But that doesn't mean that everybody else has been this fortunate. So it just takes one person to tell me that they haven't experienced that for me to get motivated and say, hey, use your platform, do something about this, because at the end of the day, that's my culture and that's my community, and the gay culture, and I should help out
Yeah.
just because I'm privileged.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And you kind of answered my next question a little bit, which was, have you experienced any kind of discrimination or maybe microaggression, bias in the industry because of your sexual orientation? And then how did you handle the situation? But I know you mentioned you haven't, but for those who maybe have, what advice would you give others experiencing this kind of issue or problem?
I think immediately report it. Like,
Mhm.
staying quiet is definitely not the solution. And who cares if you feel like, oh, but if I snitch this person, I could be my foreman that did that to me. I can't snitch him out because I might lose my job. I think the first step is knowing and letting everybody know that there's consequences for discrimination. It takes you to report somebody, and then the word would spread, hey, we have to be more careful, because they would report us. And it sounds almost intimidating to just be brave enough to do it, because it is a very masculine industry and a lot of machismo, and like, it's hard for the old school dudes to understand. Like, I don't know, it's a different culture. It could be a negative
Yeah,
culture, toxic
for
culture
sure.
at times, but standing up and being the change is like the best solution. Or reaching out to other members like myself, and or siblings in carpentry, and messaging us and saying, hey, dude, so I experienced this, which has
Yeah.
happened a lot to
Yeah.
me. And a lot of girls and guys have come to me, and non-binary members, and let me know like, hey, this issue, and I have already helped a few, so I'm very proud to say that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But it took opening up and letting it out.
Yeah, there's definitely power and strength in numbers. And I always tell, like, I I've shared with you, I used to be a life coach and a relationship coach before coming to the industry. And I work with youth at risk, and a lot of them were part of the LGBTQ plus community. And they were not out yet, right? And when they would see stuff when they were experiencing stuff being done to them, people calling them names or wanting them to share things and then feeling uncomfortable and stuff. And I would tell them, like, I would always say, like, mija, mijo, like, be brave, like, share that stuff. And they'd be so afraid for all the right reasons, right? Like, people can be very, very cruel. And how I always put it to them is, think of someone you love. Think of the person you love the most, your little sister, your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, someone you love. If this was being done to them, would you 100% like go and say something and say, hey, so-and-so did this to my little sister or my girlfriend, my boyfriend? And I mean, most likely the answer is like, yeah, right? We don't want nothing to happen to people we love. Yeah. So I'm like, so the person in that chair is you. You should love you and have that much compassion for yourself, right? Because I mean, conversations like this with Build California, our IUE series, is never to say, oh my God, the industry is so beautiful and rainbows and unicorns. While there is so much good in the industry, we also want to talk about those things that, hey, some people don't have the same experience, and let's call it out, right? Because not so much so we can point fingers and say, hey, you did that to me and you're a bad person for that, but to say, hey, you did do that to me. And how can we do better? Because we're an industry who, hey, we need people. We want people to stay here. And if it's not inclusive, the next generation and even the current generation, they're not going to want to stay, right? That includes no matter the race, color, gender, what community you're a part of. But for Pride Month, if the LGBTQ plus community, you don't feel welcomed here, like how can we create an industry where people feel good enough to come perfect, whole, and complete and bring their whole selves in the industry, and not have to say, okay, well, imagine how exhausting it can be to say, okay, I'm clocking in, time to wear this mask, and then I have to wear it for the next 10 hours, right? Like, that's exhausting for people, and we don't want people to do that. So I love what you're doing. I love that you give people that space to, hey, maybe you don't feel comfortable enough to go and report someone, but come talk to me about it, right? Like, the more people come, the more you and what you're doing, you can say, hey, in the past month, this is how many people has told me that they experienced this on certain job site. Like, there's something going on, and someone needs to look into it. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, and thank you too. You're such an ally. And just because a lot of our allies are not LGBTQ plus, you guys are just as important, because you being heterosexual, you can spread the word to other heterosexual people and explain, like, hey, this is my mentality. You need to change yours, because if I could do it, you could too. So it takes a team. You can't do it alone. It's not just us, it's our allies as well.
Yeah, I agree. All right, my next question kind of goes hand in hand what we were talking about. Do you think more people in construction are coming out, or being more comfortable coming out in the industry? How has the construction industry adapted? Is there more support and resources for LGBTQ plus individuals? Or do you think more people are not coming out and they're afraid? What is your take on this?
I think my personal take, based on my personal experience, and I don't want to mess up this answer, or but I guess, like, getting more involved and creating this, like, siblings in carpentry, and getting more groups of LGBTQ plus members together in meetings. I'm seeing a lot more of us, and it feels really good. It feels really nice, as opposed to the beginning where it was just me, not like, get alone, just being a woman on a job site. The only woman on a job site was, bad enough, because it's like, wow, where's the diversity here? Like, where are the other women? But also, on top of that, being the only lesbian woman on job sites, it was also like, I felt even, like, in a way, a little bit lonely, like, where's my people at? But then from 3 years ago to now, it's like, wow, I can name 10 really close carpenters I know that are also LGBTQ plus, that support my meetings, that I see them on job sites, we work together, and we're friends out of work, so it feels good. Like I don't see it as an industry where it's so bad to come out, but again, that's just my experience. And sure, there's discrimination, but I see change, and I see more positive change, which makes it, it's not always going to be perfect, but there's hope. And you're not in it alone. And I know the hardest part is coming out, and you're not forced to come out. Like, I don't think I ever did a formal outing. Hello, I to my family, even, hey mom, I'm gay. I never really did that. I almost just lived my life and let it just happen. And if people asked, then I would answer. But I think it's the same in construction. You don't have to come out and say I'm gay. Like rep sticker that has a rainbow, or if someone asks, hey, are you in a relationship, or casual conversations slowly start just coming out. It feels good.
And you know what? I love, and I don't speak for everyone who's like heterosexual, or maybe it's my ignorance speaking, but I've always said this. I'm like, why do gay people need to come out to us? Like, why? Like, do I come out to the world and say, hey, I'm straight, everyone? Like, why can't we just normalize whatever is normal to like what's normal to me might not be normal to you. Like, just let people live their life, right? Like, I love I love what you said, that you when people ask you, you answer. And it's like when people ask me too, and I just answer, right? Like, oh no, I'm straight, whatever, right? Like, but that whole, and again, like, it might be my ignorance, and to each their own, of course. There's also so much power in like coming out stories, and I know many different families have different views, but I'm like, I wish that we lived in a world where people didn't even feel this pressure. Because for me, working with young adults, right, for such a long time, it was like this immense pressure on them. Like, and I hated that for them. I'm like, dang, like, you can't even be yourself at home, because you have to put on this act. Like, I'm like, how exhausted are you? Like, I cannot, I can't even understand it, right? I'm like, why can't we just live in the world where we can normalize people not having to explain themselves to others, right? Unless they want to, unless they, storytelling, for me, talking about my feelings helps me, right? For a lot of people, it doesn't. They don't want to, right? So I love that. I love that you create that space, because a lot of people have this notion that, oh, there's a lot more, you hear more stories about LGBTQ plus community coming together, or somebody came out and all these things. And I'm like, well, maybe people have always been there, but they just never had a community of people to surround themselves with and feel empowered. So you just never heard these stories. It's not like somebody just raised their hand and said, oh yeah, on June 19th, I decided, right? Maybe that is the case, but I'm like, most likely people have already felt like this, and they just now found the community of people who are willing to hold space for them. So I love that you're doing that for the community, because and in the industry, right? Like, that only makes our industry better. Like, it only makes it better. I love that you've had a great experience. You in the industry as a lesbian woman and a woman, right? In the industry. I love that you've had that experience. And even though you've had such a good experience, I love that you're still giving a platform for others who might, you think, hey, just because I've had a good experience, I don't think that's the same for everyone, right? And let's talk about that, right? So I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
And this, my next question kind of goes into stuff that we kind of talked about, but can you provide an example of a program in place to support LGBTQ plus folks in your community or in your industry? I know, of course, your platform is one of them, but any others?
You might not want to put this question, because no. And
no that others. Honestly, that's a good answer, right? Because one, hey, maybe someone listening can say, oh, what? Like, we, X construction company has X program in place. Well, hey, we don't know about it. You have a carpenter on the call right now who's identifies as lesbian, and you don't know about it. Like, hey, let's do better at promoting it, right? Like, if they do have it, great. but if not, let's do something about it. So yeah, so you don't know any other program?
No, there actually isn't. There's no other committees, no programs. I was the first to ever talk about how about an LGBTQ plus committee. And
Yeah.
then it was crickets. Even with a lot of lesbians that I knew that were on that Zoom meeting, nobody wanted to say anything. This was 2.5 years ago. And then I said, okay, cool, let's step back and let me do something else. And then that's when I did the siblings in carpentry. And then eventually it's like, okay, now I'm gonna really emphasize. Now I know there's more of us here. And it just became a better time to be supported. Cause like I said, we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
So when I created siblings in carpentry, it was when I already had a group that I knew was gonna support it and we're gonna represent us. And it just became, now the ball's rolling. And I think it's but not to say that it's because they discriminate us. No, it's definitely not that. I think it's just because of what I said. A lot of people fear even coming out, that no one has really want to put that flag on their back and say, hey, I am gay and I'm having, it's times have been sensitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're changing that. And
yeah. Is there any resources or structures that you would like to see? If you had the power to say, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, what are some of those things that you would like to see in the industry? You talked about committees, maybe some of that.
Yeah. Like for LGBTQ plus?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, definitely more committees. Like if I can see, well, also the term siblings in carpentry is because in construction, it's sisters in carpentry, and that's the women, and then brothers in carpentry, it's the men. And a lot of times, a lot of us, I identify as a woman, as a lesbian woman, but a lot of my LGBTQ plus carpenter friends, they're non-binary and they don't identify as a woman, but they still have to wear a sticker that says siblings in carpentry, normally pink, a pink sticker, and they feel uncomfortable, but they have to choose one or the other, and they just say sister. So that's where the term siblings came into place. And I'm like, what if we just do siblings? Like we're everybody, it's inclusive.
Yeah.
You could be a gay man, you could be a straight man, a gay woman, straight woman. We're siblings if you don't really want to identify as either or.
Yeah.
And it worked out. And I think that term siblings, I would love to see it a lot more and normalized, as especially in construction, because it must feel pretty crappy for somebody who is non-binary and still have to be called, hey, good morning, sister, in a group, because that's all you either choose, sister or brother, and they're neither. And you just have to swallow your pride and say, yep, okay, I'm a sister. It just sucks. You're robbed of your identity. And I think siblings are perfect.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so powerful. You're robbed of your identity. Wow. I've also heard what you're talking about with the terms like tradesmen and tradeswomen, journeymen and journeywomen, right? And honestly, even the journeywoman, like it's mostly journeymen and tradesmen, right? And then they start now like journeywomen and stuff, but I'm like, well, tradespeople, right? Like you can just say that, right? So to make it just more inclusive for others. But yeah, I love that. My next question is, have you ever, where is it? Oh, throughout your career in construction, have you helped other LGBTQ plus people enter the industry? Who should consider entering construction?
I have not met somebody that personally entered because of me, but I have definitely helped a lot of LGBTQ plus members once they entered, and they reached out to me. They'll ask for advice, they'll DM me and message me, like just any advice I can give. And it feels nice. Oh, wow, you're barely entering and you're reaching out to me. Like it's cool. It means something is working. You have a platform to reach to, you have a group that, okay, I can go to her and I can go to siblings. And so that feels nice. And what was the second question? The second part of the question?
who should consider entering the industry, but that kind of goes with my second question, actually. So you spoke about advice. So do you have any advice for LGBTQ plus people who are thinking about getting into the construction industry?
Yeah, I think just pave the way for the ones behind you, and we're trying to pave the way for you. So, like, speak up. Even if you have a great experience, or you just want to fit in. Fitting in means making it easier for all of us, and don't let anything slide. If there's any discrimination, especially homophobic slanders or any sort of that, just don't stay quiet, because we're trying really hard to make this a more inclusive and non-homophobic industry, and make it easier for the rest of us. So I think that's my only advice. And it's a cool industry. You're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yes.
You're gonna work every day doing what you love to do. It's great. And just I guess keep representing the LGBTQ plus community. We have your back, and if you ever need a group, like, we're here for you.
Yes, I love that. And now, what advice do you have any advice for allies of the LGBTQ plus community in the industry?
Yeah, I think we kind of spoke on it. I told you, I thanked you for being an ally. And I think allies are just as important. You hear more heterosexual people want to talk to in heterosexual groups about, slander the gay community, because they feel there's no gay people here now. I could say it. But if you're an ally and you hear something, you should also stand up for us, because it makes the difference too. Because a lot of this hate crimes and like the discrimination is not always in our faces. It could be somebody that graffitied something, like in the Man Lives at Work. Like, I knew so many gay guys that weren't out, but construction workers would suspect they were gay, so they would write, like, faggot, or the guy here wearing this is gay. And like, I'm not confessing to graffiti, but I would scratch that out with the marker, because it just felt wrong. And then I started seeing that a lot of our allies, our brothers who were straight and they respected these guys, this gay guy, they would also start doing the same thing, scratching it off, or they'll shut it down. And it helped so much to see that it's not just gay people standing up for each other, it's also our allies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think with anything, right? Like, it's not just an issue that LGBTQ plus individuals should fight. Like, it's not a them issue. It's a human issue, right? Like, you're human. Like, it what affects you, it's gonna affect me too. Like, you should. I love how there's this term that says it's not enough to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist, right? And that ultimately says, like, hey, yeah, well, I'm not racist, right? Well, what does that even mean, right? Like, you have to do things like that, right? Translating it to the LGBTQ plus community. Like, it's not enough for me to say, yeah, like, I have friends and I love you all and I have not an issue, right? But it's not enough to do that. You have to be anti, right? Like, call people out and really, like, be an ally and say, hey, that is not right. Like, I don't identify as lesbian, and I don't have to tell you, don't say that. Like, don't say that around me. Don't say that at all, right? Like, and just respect people, right? And people don't, I mean, maybe I get really passionate and I can sound really mean, but you don't have to, right? You can do it. Everyone says, like, you can do it with so much compassion. And I'm like, well, sometimes it's hard to do that. And I just want to be like, don't do that. But no, like, you can really do just say, like, hey, like, I learned this actually in one of my coaching calls with my life coach. She once told me, the next time someone says something that is very rude and mean to you, just look at them and straight in the eyes and say, what do you mean by that? And just be quiet and let them try to tell you what they meant by that. And okay, I have tried it and it is so awkward at first, but then it's awkward for that person, because it's like, what did you mean by that? And what is the answer? You meant to be a horrible person, and said, like, repeat yourself. Like, that's just said, right? So yeah, like, now that's always on my mind when I, like, hear people or they do it to me. I'm like, well, what did you mean by that? What does that mean, right? Like what that like derogatory word, what do you mean by that? Explain yourself, right? Like what explanation could you give me if not a horrible one? So yeah, it's not enough to be an ally. Like you have to be anti all these ugly rhetoric that people have. So thank you.
Anti-hate.
Anti-hate, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think I have two more questions. And I guess we kind of talked about this one a little bit, but if you want to add anything, how can folks in the field help create an accepting or more accepting environment?
Definitely be anti-hate. I
Yeah.
think anti-hate, it just even honestly looks so much cooler too. Like for that tough guy that like I've seen it, that everyone thinks he's gonna be the first to hate on that gay guy, and he's the first to be like, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Like people, it just looks cooler. Like
Yeah.
it takes you're a lot more brave to stand up and swim against the current than just swimming with everybody else. It looks so much better. You're a lot more braver to stand up for anti-hate than it is to just like try to fit in, and you look stupid just making these comments that you don't even probably deep down inside feel.
Exactly. You don't even know what you really mean by that.
Right.
Right. All right, last question. What's your call to action for companies to support LGBTQ plus folks in the construction industry?
I think put a lot of more LGBTQ plus members to work, which could be a little bit hard because not all of us are out.
Yeah.
But just make an effort to create more diversity where we can meet each other, and there's we don't feel alone. Like I told you, I felt like my first couple job sites, it's like not only the only woman, but then the only lesbian woman when there was another woman on the job site. It just like it feels nice to see diversity, and for you to have somebody to eat lunch with and have like deep conversation, that's more that you can relate to. I think it makes working a lot more enjoyable when you have a group to relate to.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know I said it was the last question, but this is just a question that I want to ask you. I know you spoke about how your wife was so supportive of you changing careers and doing what she had to do to hold it down for you both. How has your what does your wife think about you being in the industry? Because it is hard work, right? It is hard work, but what does she think? Has she remained supportive? Tell me a little bit about that.
My wife has remained, her name is Melissa.
Melissa. I think I've never asked you that. Okay, Melissa, I can put a name to all the stories.
Melissa has remained so supportive, and she kisses me a lot more and compliments me more. And when I met her, I told her, and we were just friends when I met her, and we'll talk about love. And I said, like the key to long lasting love is an advice somebody told me, you can't fall in love with somebody that you don't admire. And I told her that years ago, and she brings that up often, and she's like, I admire you. And to me, it's like that's her insider, her to tell me I'm in love with you. Like she'll say, I admire you, and I'm like, okay. And I admire her too. So it's like I admire her so much too. It's just like that support and that reciprocal love that we have for each other it's important, regardless what trade we're in, regardless what career we have. I can be doing something I completely that doesn't really pay the bills, or it's not necessarily a financially amazing career, and I know she would still admire and support me for it.
I love that. I love that.
Just recently, actually, we did do a trip to Italy, and
the destination of love.
The destination of love, yeah. And what's funny is that when we married at the time, I can only give her a promise ring. So we married with promise ring. Financially, that's all I could afford at the time. We had so many plans, and our savings were going elsewhere, distributed elsewhere. And after I saw her like hold it down, like you said, and really support that career change, 4 years later, which is April of this year, a couple months ago, I decided, you know what, this is time. I'm gonna go to Italy with her. We're gonna have the honeymoon we never had, and I'm gonna propose to her and give her the proposal and that diamond ring that I never gave her. So I felt like it was like she's done too much to prove to me, like, I know it's just a ring and we're not superficial. She's not superficial, but just that moment that we never experienced because life was so hectic financially. And, you know, now we're in a better place. I felt it was perfect. So I did propose to her and I gave her ring. And, you know, it's like we fell in love all over again. It's been really great.
I love that so much. I like blush. I love that. Love wins. Love wins.
Yeah, love wins. And
Heck
you know, it's
yeah.
like carpentry, construction, whatever it is, like we're just human, and like we're doing nothing wrong but loving each other. A lot of us have another person to go to after long days of work. You know, like we're just providing for our loved ones, for our family, and you know, like we're nothing different than what a straight man or a straight woman on the job site is. Like
Yeah.
we're just like you guys.
I love that. Oh, Theresa, thank you so much for sharing that. I hope and the entire world should hear all of this because you constantly inspire me, not just like in the industry, but just as a human. So thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your energy and your space with me and with Build California. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you for being allies and thank you for always supporting. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Well, anything else you want to add?
No, I think it was such a fluid and like organic conversation, just like it always is. And
Awesome. All right. Cool. Thank you.